Hi, this is Abby with Happy Little Mystic, and welcome back to your free self-paced tarot course. Today's lesson will be all about card number 16, the Tower. And if you miss any of the other lessons in our tarot deck so far, you can check out the playlist link in the description box below. And if you're following along in our tarot workbook, if you open up to the Major Arcana section, you will find a place to record all the information needed to fully understand the Tower card. One of the first things we'll notice in the center of our Tower card is the Tower itself. And the Tower is representing structures. So whether it's physical or psychological, these structures have been built on this shaky foundation here. So these could be beliefs, institutions, or situations in life that are just unsustainable. Quite often, the Tower card is associated with this sudden upheaval or revelation or destruction. Some people are afraid to get the Tower card in a reading because it does mean that things are changing. However, quite often the Tower card can be that sudden revelation that you need or that you have about something that helps you move forward. The Tower itself in this card is tall, it's rigid, and it's set apart. So it's up high in the sky here. This is symbolizing pride and ego. It often is reflecting that things we've built up may need to be torn down for truth and growth. So these things we've built up that are no longer working for us need to be torn down. We'll notice this large lightning bolt here hitting the top of the Tower, quite possibly causing the fire that's happening here. And this lightning bolt is symbolizing a force of sudden divine intervention. It's coming from the heavens down, and it's breaking through the illusion or the falsehood that is surrounding this Tower. So the lightning bolt is jagged and it comes from above, signifying this higher power or universal force. It's abruptly altering our day-to-day, our status quo. So it's a symbol of truth and enlightenment. Even though it's delivered in this shocking way, it's actually helping us out, that divine intervention. The flames here in the windows coming out of the top of the Tower, this is representing destruction, purification, and transformation. The fire erupting from the Tower shows the intensity and totality of the event. So we know that fire consumes, but it's also clearing a way for new growth. So it's almost as if this beginning or rebirth is happening because of the fire destroying this old structure or belief. We'll notice here this large crown, and it's falling off the top of the Tower because of this lightning bolt and this fire here. And this is symbolizing a loss of control or an ego death. It's almost as if it's a dethroning of the false self. The crown being blown off the top of the Tower is signifying the fall of pride or arrogance. We'll notice we have two people falling here from the Tower. And this is a very humbling depiction. It's this forced release of what no longer serves us. They have no choice but to jump from this crumbling Tower. So in this card, the Rider-Waite-Smith, we do have the man and woman depicted here, and they're representing this human vulnerability and this universal nature of what this upheaval feels like. So no one is immune to the Tower experiences. We'll see here this woman has a crown on and she's, royalty. She's not immune to the Tower experience. I also like here this man is wearing a cape. He looks a bit like this Superman superhero flying away from this destruction. However, his face does look scared, but it's almost going back to this idea that once he's away from this destruction and this Tower moment, he will prevail. He will rise up in power once again. The way the woman's falling here shows that extra vulnerability. So relinquishing all of this control and just letting life catch her the way that it will when she falls from this Tower. She's fully trusting that this moment will surpass and she will be caught and protected. Well, notice we have the dark, stormy sky here again, very similar to the black in our previous card of the devil, who is in a cave. We now have the dark, stormy sky behind us. This is symbolizing turmoil, uncertainty, and this fear of the unknown. So the dark, chaotic skies sets the tone of the upheaval. It's reflecting a crisis moment that lacks clarity. So we don't have the bright yellow sky behind us like we do in so many of our other tarot cards. We have this black uncertainty, the unknown. So it's lacking clarity, but it's not lacking purpose. This is a very purposeful card. Again, some are afraid to receive this card in a reading. I think it's probably one of the best because it changes us. It moves us. It forces us to move on to the next level. This divine intervention is showing us what in our life needs to be torn down so that we can rebuild. So again, going back to our colors here, we do have the yellow in the lightning and the fire and the crown here. This is symbolizing truth, clarity, and this divine intervention. Then we have the gray in the tower and the sky and our clouds here. This is detachment and this liminal space between ruin and revelation. We also have our black sky, which we talked about is the unknown, the unconscious forces at work. And then I also like how they did tie in the red here. And we've seen the red a lot in our Major Arcana so far. The red is symbolizing power and passion, but also this real world. It's a color of blood, the life force. So I like how it's not being lost in this tower moment. It gives us the idea that once these two figures fall, they will be able to rebuild. They will be able to carry on. Moving over to our zodiac sign section of our workbook, the tower is connected to the planet of Mars. So Mars is associated with conflict, destruction, force, violence, and this raw energy. So it's perfectly mirroring the tower's themes of this sudden disruption and radical transformation. Not just aggressive, it's catalytic. So it's tearing things down to expose truth and spark change, which is really where we can find the beauty in this card. So Mars is the ruler of the sign of Aries. Aries is all about boldness, impulsiveness, and this initiation or ego. So Aries is a fire sign, and it can represent this impulsive spark that leads to the tower moment. It could be actions taken without regard to consequences or bold moves that shake foundations. The tower experience might reflect the fallout of an unchecked Aries energy. Mars is also associated with the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about this transformation, death and rebirth, and truth beneath the surface. So going back to our death card that Scorpio also rules, we can see a lot of similarities here, symbolizing shedding what no longer serves us and being able to rebuild in this rebirth transformation. So Scorpio's themes of deep transformation, this emotional intensity, and exposing hidden truths resonates with the tower's process of destruction and renewal. Scorpio's energy can also indicate a necessary collapse to reach authenticity or this emotional catharsis, this place where we need to be in order to be our best selves. If you're asking a yes or no question in a reading and the Tower card shows up, the general answer is going to be a strong no. So the Tower is, again, suggesting disruption, collapse, or this unexpected event that throws plans off course. So it's implying that the current situation is unstable. It could indicate that if you move forward, it will lead to chaos or forced change. So if the Tower card shows up and you've asked a yes or no question, the answer is no. So if you're asking about a relationship, the Tower might indicate a breakup or a shocking revelation, or that the relationship is built on this shaky ground here. If you're asking about a job or opportunity for career, it could suggest rejection, sudden change, or that the role isn't what it seems. And if you're asking about taking action, the Tower's warning you to proceed with caution. Your expectations may be completely overturned. The Tower card could also indicate that the answer is no, not right now. Maybe something needs to fall apart first before the answer can be yes. Or perhaps it's saying no, but it's for your own good. So what you're pursuing might be based on illusion or denial. And finally, the Tower card could be saying, yes, but expect a wild ride. So in rare cases, the Tower clears space for breakthroughs that comes through this upheaval. So be ready. So the keywords for the upright meaning of the Tower card would be sudden upheaval or chaos, a dramatic revelation or truth, the destruction of illusions, lies, or false beliefs. It could also indicate unavoidable change that clears the way for growth. If the Tower card shows up in the upright position, there could be shock, crisis, or a wake-up call. The Tower card could also be forcing us to have a mindset shift. So it can feel destructive, but it's ultimately about liberation. It's tearing away illusions so that you can face reality and build something that's real. It's not a punishment, but an invitation to truth and authenticity. So although it may be delivered in this hard to swallow form, this super destructive way, it really can give us a chance for that wake-up call, for this new beginning, this rebirth that we need, this mindset shift that we need. If the Tower card shows up in a career or finance reading, it could be indicating job loss or unexpected changes. There could be a collapse of a professional plan or project. Perhaps there's a harsh truth about your career path or your workplace. It could also indicate this shattering of false beliefs. So maybe security, success, or purpose is falling away. You may be being forced to change and clear your path for something better. The Tower card could also be indicating that a toxic work environment is being exposed. You could be realizing that your career isn't aligned with your true goals. So perhaps you felt secure in a job only to find out that your department is being eliminated. This would be the ultimate Tower moment. Maybe you've outgrown your role and something must give. You have to give up something. This Tower moment is forcing you to pursue your real passion. Perhaps you're having a radical breakthrough through this, what could be chaotic moment. Your business fails, but then it frees you to launch something more authentic. Remember, this Tower moment could actually be a blessing, a silver lining. So if the Tower card shows up in a career or finance reading, the advice here is don't resist the collapse. Clinging will only cause more stress. Take this free-falling moment and know that you are divinely protected at the end of the day. Fall away from all of this stress and upheaval. See the Tower moment as a course correction. So you're being realigned with your purpose. So remember here, the lightning bolt is being sent down from the heavens, from this divine intervention. This is a course correction that the universe is helping you with to realign you with your purpose. It could be asking you to be open to starting over. So this might be a chance for you to rebuild smarter and stronger. This Tower is collapsing because it's on this shaky foundation. So after this Tower moment, you'll have this opportunity to rebuild a stronger foundation. If the Tower card shows up in a love or romance reading, could be indicating themes of breakups or sudden endings. There could be shocking truths coming to light. So infidelity, secrets, perhaps you're emotionally incompatible. The Tower card in a love or romance reading could also be indicating this ego clash or confrontations happening in a relationship. Maybe you're realizing the relationship was built on illusion, and there may need to be a necessary collapse to rebuild something better. If you're in a relationship and the Tower card shows up, it could be indicating that something may suddenly disrupt the relationship. This could be a conflict, betrayal, or external crisis, like a job loss or family issue, and it could shake your connection. So the Tower may not always mean the end, but it does demand total honesty, and often it's going to require the relationship to be rebuilt from the ground up, if it can be at all. It could also indicate an ego death, where one or both of the partners are forced to grow and fast. So you may discover your partner hasn't been honest with you, and now the future of the relationship is uncertain. This would be an example of a Tower moment. If you're single and the Tower card shows up, you may be experiencing a revelation about your own patterns in love. Perhaps you realize you've been chasing unavailable people or basing your worth on others. It could also indicate a sudden encounter that turns your understanding of love upside down. So this could be painful, but eye-opening. And in the end, a very good thing. You might experience a crash of hope around someone you are idolizing. Perhaps you find out someone you are dating isn't who they claim to be. So it's forcing this painful but liberating wake-up call. The advice, if the Tower shows up in a love or romance reading, is to not resist the fall. So again, don't resist what's crumbling wasn't truly stable. So jump out of those windows, get out of there. See the truth for what it is. The Tower never lies, even if the truth hurts. It's asking you to let go of illusions. So they're only delaying your emotional freedom. They're really not helping. And then use this chaos as a chance to rebuild. So whether with someone new or with greater honesty and awareness in an existing relationship. And something important to remember, if the Tower card shows up and brings this loss or heartbreak, remember that it's clearing the path for something more authentic and aligned. The card that comes right after the Tower card in the Major Arcana is our Star card. That's a super positive card to get. And the Tower moment here is clearing the path for that Star card to come in. So although it could be heartbreaking and very destructive, there is this silver lining. There is this star at the end of the tunnel. Moving on to the numerology of the Tower card. The Tower card is number 16, and 16 is considered a karmic number. So it's symbolizing a fall from great heights, usually due to pride, illusion, or ego. It can also represent the collapse of structures built on false premises. So this aligns perfectly with the Tower card. The number 16 often carries lessons of humility, truth, and spiritual awakening through hardship. The message here for the number 16 is if you build on illusion, it will fall. In numerology, when we add the 1 and the 6 of the number 16, we get the number 7, and 7 is a deeply spiritual and introspective number. It relates to this truth-seeking, inner wisdom, awakening, and this analyzing what lies beneath the surface. It's also tied to mystery, disruption of status quo, and learning through solitude or crisis. The number 7 is indicating this inner journey that begins once the Tower falls. So again, while the Tower card may seem purely destructive, its numerology is pointing towards spiritual realignment. The shakeup is not random. It's a wake-up call, pushing you toward higher awareness and this authenticity. If the Tower card shows up in the reverse and you're choosing to read reversals, the key themes here would be fear of change or avoiding necessary upheaval. You could be delaying the inevitable collapse. It could also indicate this internal breakdown, so mental, emotional, or spiritual. Perhaps there's subtle disruptions instead of dramatic destruction. The Tower in reverse could also indicate that you may be trying to rebuild too soon or on that same unstable foundation. It could also indicate that you have survived a close call or lesson learned in the hard way. So the reverse Tower could be a warning. It could be telling you that you know something must change, but you're not acting. You may be clinging to a relationship, a job, a belief, or this habit that is clearly unstable, but you're afraid to let it fall. And the idea here is the more you resist, the worse the eventual collapse could be. There is a positive potential if the Tower card shows up in the reverse. It could mean that you may be rebuilding after a Tower moment, starting to regain stability. So if you've already learned the lesson, the reversal could be signaling healing or avoiding a greater crisis by taking early action. If the Tower shows up in the reverse, the advice is to not ignore the warning signs. Let go of what you know is no longer sustainable. Embrace the change on your terms before it's forced upon you. And then also reflect deeply. This is an invitation for inner realignment. Moving over to the connections to other cards section in our workbook, the Tower card is connected to several of the other Major Arcana cards in our deck. The first of which is our Fool card. And if we remember back to our Fool's journey in the first lesson, the Fool begins his spiritual journey innocently. And the Tower is that crash point when his illusions break. So the Fool is walking off of this cliff willingly. He's very optimistic and he is making that choice to take the leap of faith. And the Tower card is forcing that leap out of the building. It's forcing the change and throwing you off of the Tower into that unknown territory. Another card that the Tower is associated with is the Chariot. And the Chariot is card number 7, which is what our 16 reduces to. The Chariot is symbolizing control, willpower, and victory. And the Tower is this loss of control and this external disruption. It's almost like an opposite. So while the Chariot is all about perhaps ego-based control, the Tower is stripping that away, and it's causing this humbleness. The Emperor is also connected to our Tower card, and both are representing structures. The Emperor builds order, and then the Tower tears it down. So the Tower can be the fall of this rigid system that the Emperor is clinging to, this false power, pride, or control. If it's not built on a stable foundation like this Tower, it will fall. Divine intervention will step in. The Tower card is also associated with the Justice card. The Tower can act as cosmic justice. Karma crashing down when the truth is denied. So justice is revealing truth consciously, and the Tower does it violently when it's ignored. We also have the Devil card connected to our Tower card. As I mentioned earlier, the background of the card, these are the two black backgrounds in the Major Arcana, the Devil and the Tower. And the Devil is showing us that bondage, illusion, addiction, and material entrapment. And the Tower comes next to shatter those chains. So if you remain in this devil energy, denial, avoidance, and toxic patterns, the Tower is going to intervene to break you free. And it could be painful. We also have the Death card connected to our Tower card. And both of these cards are radical transformation, but they have a slightly different tone. So the Death is this gradual, natural, and eternal, stripping away the layers that no longer serve us. Whereas the Tower is this sudden, external, and violent stripping. So if you are resisting quiet transformation that Death is offering here, and after Death, we have the Devil card. If you're still chained to those addictions and the ego, the Tower will be forced to come in and cause the upheaval that's needed to strip away those layers that no longer serve us. And then finally, we have the Hanged Man that's also connected to the Tower card. And both of these cards are about surrender and perspective shift. The Hanged Man chooses to pause on his own and reflect, whereas the Tower is forcing us to let go through this external crisis. So we have this conscious surrendering and then this cosmic intervention. In the personal insights and reflection section, I did note a few things that I found important about the Tower card. Again, the Tower is actually one of my favorite cards to show up in a reading. And that's because it is this divine intervention that's stepping in to course correct something that's not in alignment with us. So it's really this helping hand in a way. So quite often the Tower card is the most misunderstood yet spiritually profound cards in tarot. It often brings this discomfort, but its deeper message is one of truth and liberation and this awakening. So it's good to remember that the Tower card doesn't destroy for the sake of chaos. It's destroying what's false or fragile or no longer aligned. So this card is forcing a confrontation with reality. It's pointing out the lies, whether with ourselves or from others. It's showing us what cannot stand on this shaky foundation. The Tower is revealing what's hidden, often through shock, but it's a truth that we need to see. I've listed here that the Tower is indicating sudden change, and that sudden change is also necessary change. So you may not have chosen this disruption, but it's choosing you for a reason. It's signaling that transformation is overdue. We had these chances before in the tarot deck, the Devil, the Death card, Hanged Man, see the issue and transform on our own. And if we don't, the Tower card is showing up to do it for us. Quite often we fear change, but the Tower says what you are clinging to was never solid to begin with. And if you're ignoring the gentle nudges from the universe, that's when the Tower moments are going to happen. These sudden, undeniable, and impossible to avoid changes. But remember that the breakdown can lead to breakthrough. So what feels like destruction is often the sacred clearing. And I love to find the silver lining in a lot of things in life, that optimistic, glass half full idea. And I like how this card does have the gray here, but it's also this silver color. So there's this reminder that with all this destruction, there is this silver lining. There is this taking this leap of faith, knowing that you're divinely protected and moving on. You're able to level up after this tower moment. Something to remember is that surrendering is strength, and resisting the tower intensifies its impact. So letting go erases that. The tower moment is hardest when we cling. So your ego may be saying this shouldn't be happening, but the wisdom in you, the higher self, is saying, let's see where this leads. I've also listed here that the tower is the sacred disruption. So it's a divine course correction. So think of it as the universe intervening to knock you off a path that was leading nowhere. What is destroyed wasn't built to last. So what rises in its place will be stronger, clearer, and rooted in truth. And a few questions to ask yourself if the tower card shows up and this tower moment is happening is, what in my life is no longer stable or true? What am I clinging to out of fear or pride? Where am I being asked to surrender and trust? What truth have I been avoiding? And how might this breakdown actually be clearing the way for something better? And finally, the tower is not about punishment. It's about freedom. So it's arriving when we've outgrown something, but haven't yet let go. And while it may bring pain, it often is followed by clarity, healing, and this deeper sense of who you really are. The next card, like I mentioned, is the Star card in our deck. And this is all about hope, peace, and light after the storm. So to finish out our lesson, I do want to compare the Rider-Waite-Smith Tower card with a few other cards from the decks that I have. We'll start with the Guardian Angel Messages Tarot by Radleigh Valentine. And in this deck, I like that instead of the tower, he used the word transformation, really honing in on the positivity of the card. It is card number 16. And the words here we have are realization, life change, and liberation. So a few things that are the same. We have our divine intervention, our lightning bolts coming in the top here, light up here in the window that could be flames inside. We do have our man and woman, and I like how the woman here is depicted as an angel. She's actually guiding the man to safety, and she is holding the flame here. There's a butterfly to symbolize transformation. And I like here with our hourglass sand timer, it's showing that the time is almost out. So this destructive upheaval revelation moment, this tower moment, is needing to happen because we're just about out of time. So we have to have this realization or this life change in order to level up. We also have our dark, stormy skies in the background. Again, an ominous depiction on this card, but I do like the positive butterfly and guardian angel we have here. In our next deck, also from Radleigh Valentine, our Angel Tarot cards. We have card number 16, and instead of transformation, it's called Life Experience. I like that as well because it is showing that these tower moments are common. They're going to happen to everybody. Like we saw here with this queen, royalty falling. No one can escape the tower moment. So this life experience is being depicted here with Archangel Shamiel. Another beautiful card. It says, a significant life event, a powerful revelation that leads to change, time to spread your wings. And I like how they have our archangel here in the center of the card, looking up to the bright sunlit heavens here. There is a mystical, magical tower, almost translucent in the background. It doesn't look like it's falling. I do not see the lightning bolts here or the flames, but it is almost like these vines are overgrowing. So perhaps it's overtaking the tower and the tower will need to be rebuilt. We have another hourglass timer here to show that time is running out. We have our butterflies and birds up here. Time to spread your wings. Perhaps that's a nod from falling from this tower, spreading your wings and flying away. Very nice. And lastly, I have our Wild Reflections deck. And in this deck, the Tower card is depicted in a similar way to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We have our dark background, our dark stormy sky. We have a lightning bolt coming down from the heavens. I don't see the flames in the tower, but it has knocked these two people, a woman and a man, off the tower. Both are falling back on their backs, similar to the woman in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, showing that trust in the universe, that they will be caught. They're almost being swept up. On the top of this treehouse tower here, we have what looks like a squirrel and also a hawk. To me, the squirrel is very resourceful and agile. So he's not falling off the tower because he can swing from the trees and crawl and jump and climb all over the place. Also, the hawk is not being disturbed here. He has his wings to fly away if needed. Maybe they are divinely guiding these two people falling, or perhaps looking over them in a protective way. Very nice. Okay. So that is what I have for the Tower card for today. And in our next lesson, we will be learning all about card number 17, the Star. Okay, and that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.